You've probably felt it before. The quiet belief that one day, if you just build enough passive income, everything will finally feel different. The stress will fade, the pressure will lift, your time will be yours again. You imagine waking up without urgency. No alarms, no boss, no dependency on the next paycheck, just income flowing in while you live. That's the promise. That's the dream. And the dream is powerful. But here's the uncomfortable truth that almost nobody explains properly. Passive income does not create freedom. It only amplifies the structure that already exists in your life. And if you misunderstand that, you can spend years chasing something that never delivers the feeling you thought it would. Because what most people call passive income is not actually freedom. It's delayed effort, it's concentrated risk, it's capital deployed under uncertainty, and sometimes it's just another form of work wearing better branding. We need to separate the marketing version of passive income from the structural reality of it. The marketing version says you build something once and get paid forever. The structural reality says you either trade time up front, trade capital up front, or trade risk up front. There is always a trade. Nothing becomes passive without cost. So when someone says they earn passive income from property, what they really mean is they committed capital, accepted leverage risk, accepted liquidity constraints, and accepted exposure to market cycles. When someone says they earn passive income from dividends, what they really mean is they accumulated significant assets first. And when someone says they earn passive income from an online business, what they really mean is they built systems through intense active effort before it became semi-automated. None of these are bad, but none of them are magic. And the danger isn't that passive income is fake. The danger is that people think passive income alone creates psychological freedom. It doesn't. If your expenses are high, passive income feels small. If your identity is tied to growth, passive income feels slow. If your lifestyle expands with every raise, passive income always feels behind. So the first thing you need to understand is that freedom is not an income number. Freedom is margin. Margin between what you need and what you earn. Margin between your obligations and your options. Margin between your time and your demands. Without margin, passive income just becomes another target. And targets move. If you currently need $5,000 a month to survive and you build passive income of $2,000 a month, you don't feel free. You feel halfway. If you build $5,000 a month, you don't suddenly feel infinite relief. You start thinking about inflation, about healthcare, about kids, about upgrading your lifestyle because now you can. The goalpost shifts. That's human nature. So if you don't understand that your psychology expands to fill your resources, you will never feel free no matter how much passive income you generate. The second thing you need to understand is that passive income compounds slower than your imagination. Social media compresses timelines. It shows outcomes without showing accumulation phases. But real passive income, the durable kind, requires either time or scale. Dividends require years of capital accumulation. Rental income requires deposits, financing capacity, and tolerance for volatility. Index funds require patience measured in decades. The math works, but the math is slow, and slow feels uncomfortable in a culture addicted to acceleration. So people abandon compounding and chase higher-yield passive streams. Crypto staking, high-risk businesses, option strategies. They reach for speed because they're chasing a feeling, not a structure. And that's where mistakes happen. Because real freedom is not speed. Real freedom is stability. It's knowing that downturns don't destroy you. It's knowing that your cash flow doesn't collapse because one platform changes its algorithm. It's knowing that you don't need to constantly monitor something to keep it alive. Passive income only works if you understand that its job is not to excite you. Its job is to quietly reduce dependence over time. The third thing you need to understand is that freedom is created by reducing fixed obligations, not just increasing income streams. This is where almost everyone gets it wrong. They focus entirely on building income and almost zero attention on controlling lifestyle creep. But freedom expands faster when expenses shrink than when income rises. If your monthly burn rate is low, small passive streams matter. If your burn rate is high, large passive streams still feel insufficient. So imagine two people, both earn the same salary. One inflates their lifestyle with every promotion. The other keeps their baseline steady and invests the difference. 10 years later, the second person may not look richer externally, but internally they have margin. They can say no. They can take a sabbatical. They can negotiate. They have leverage over their own time. That leverage is freedom, and passive income simply strengthens it. It doesn't create it from nothing. The fourth thing you need to understand is that passive income does not remove responsibility. It shifts it. When you own assets, you own volatility. When you rely on dividends, you rely on corporate performance. When you rent property, you rely on tenants and maintenance cycles. Responsibility never disappears. It just becomes structural rather than daily. And that's a trade worth making, but it's still a trade. So if you believe passive income will eliminate stress entirely, you will be disappointed. The goal is not zero stress. The goal is lower fragility, the ability to absorb shocks without panic. That's what assets do. They reduce fragility over time. They create buffers. They give you optionality. And optionality is closer to freedom than income ever will be. Another layer that almost nobody talks about is identity. If your identity is built around productivity and growth, pure passivity will feel empty. Many people reach financial independence and feel restless, not because they failed, but because their self-worth was tied to momentum. So passive income must be paired with purpose. Otherwise, it feels like an anticlimax. You thought you were chasing money, but you were really chasing autonomy. And autonomy requires structure. It requires designing how you spend time, not just how you earn money. So before you chase passive income aggressively, ask yourself what freedom actually looks like in daily life. Is it fewer meetings? Is it creative time? Is it geographic flexibility? Is it the ability to walk away from toxic environments? Define that clearly. Because once you define it, you realize you don't always need massive passive income to achieve it. Sometimes you need lower expenses. Sometimes you need a skill that gives you bargaining power. Sometimes you need an emergency fund large enough to create negotiation leverage. Passive income is one tool, not the only tool. And when you understand that, you stop obsessing over building dozens of small income streams. You focus on building one or two durable asset bases while protecting your margin. That's quieter, it's less flashy, but it works. And here's another truth that isn't popular. Many passive income strategies are simply delayed active income. Writing a book is active work up front. Building a course is active work up front. Creating content is active work up front. It may become semi-passive later, but the front-loaded effort is real. So the real question isn't, how do I make money passively? The real question is, what effort am I willing to front-load to reduce future dependence? That reframing changes everything. Because now you're not chasing easy money. You're strategically reallocating effort across time. You work harder today to create structural support tomorrow. That's intelligent. That's mature. And it aligns with compounding. But it requires patience. And patience is rare. So most people bounce between ideas. They try affiliate marketing for 6 months. They try dropshipping for a year. They try real estate seminars. They chase yield instead of building depth. But depth is what compounds. Consistency compounds, focus compounds, not novelty. Passive income only works if you understand that it is built through concentration, not diversification of attention. You diversify capital later, but early on you concentrate effort. Another overlooked element is risk tolerance. True passive investing requires emotional stability during downturns. If you panic sell during market crashes, your passive strategy collapses. If you over-leverage during booms, your passive strategy collapses. So the foundation isn't just financial knowledge, it's behavioral discipline. It's the ability to sit still. It's the ability to ignore noise. That's why index investing, though boring, outperforms most active strategies long-term. Because it reduces decision frequency. And reduced decision frequency reduces mistakes. So, ironically, the most powerful passive income strategy for most people is not glamorous. It's systematic investing into diversified assets while controlling lifestyle inflation. That combination, sustained over years, creates optionality. And optionality feels like calm. You check your account, and instead of anxiety, you feel space. Space to choose, space to think, space to breathe. That's the emotional shift people are actually chasing when they say they want passive income. They want relief. They want security. They want to stop feeling behind. But relief doesn't come from income streams alone. It comes from knowing your system works even when you're not constantly optimizing it. So build systems, automate investments, lower recurring expenses, avoid unnecessary debt, strengthen your skills, increase your earning capacity while keeping your baseline stable, and then let time do its job. Because the final truth is this: passive income only works if you understand that freedom is built quietly. It's not dramatic. It's not viral. It's incremental. Year after year, your dependence on any single source shrinks. Year after year, your assets carry slightly more weight. Year after year, your margin widens, and one day you realize something subtle has shifted. You're not trapped anymore. Not because you hit some magical number, but because your life is no longer fragile. That's the difference. Passive income is not about escaping work. It's about escaping fragility. It's about building a structure where downturns don't derail you and opportunities don't intimidate you. And when you finally understand that, you stop chasing the illusion of easy money. You start building durable foundations. And durable foundations, compounded long enough, create something far more powerful than passive income hype ever promised. They create stability. They create leverage. They create calm. And calm, more than anything, feels like freedom. Good. Then let's go further. Because there's a final layer to this conversation that almost nobody on YouTube wants to touch, and it's the layer that determines whether passive income actually changes your life or just rearranges your stress. Even if you build substantial passive income, even if your assets cover your baseline expenses, even if you technically reach financial independence on paper, you can still feel behind. You can still feel pressure. You can still wake up with that low-grade anxiety humming in the background. And that's because most people don't realize they weren't just chasing income. They were chasing relief. They were chasing certainty. They were chasing the feeling of being safe in a world that constantly feels unstable. Passive income gets marketed as a financial solution, but the desire for it is emotional. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep trying to solve an internal problem with external numbers. Let's unpack that carefully. Imagine you build enough dividend income to cover your rent. That's a milestone. It's meaningful. But does your nervous system suddenly relax permanently? Not necessarily, because now you think about market crashes. You think about dividend cuts. You think about inflation eroding purchasing power. The mind simply finds the next variable to worry about. The target moves. That's not because passive income failed. It's because uncertainty is part of life. You can reduce financial fragility, but you can't eliminate unpredictability. And when people expect passive income to eliminate unpredictability, they're setting themselves up for disappointment. The healthier expectation is this: passive income increases resilience. It doesn't eliminate volatility. It reduces the consequences of volatility. And resilience feels different than excitement. Resilience is subtle. It's not the dopamine hit of launching a new business. It's not the adrenaline of closing a big deal. It's quiet. It's boring. It's stable. That's why many people sabotage their own passive strategies. Stability doesn't stimulate them enough. They miss the rush of active pursuit. So they start tinkering. They over-optimize. They take on extra leverage. They chase higher yield. And in doing so, they reintroduce fragility into a system that was supposed to protect them. The irony is painful. They build safety, then destabilize it because calm feels unfamiliar. This is why understanding yourself matters just as much as understanding compounding. If you're someone who thrives on growth, you need to consciously separate your identity from your portfolio performance. Otherwise, every market dip feels like a personal failure. Every flat year feels like stagnation. Passive income only works if it's paired with emotional maturity. That means accepting slow seasons, accepting average returns, accepting that sometimes doing nothing is the optimal decision. And doing nothing is uncomfortable in a culture that celebrates constant motion. There's another dimension that rarely gets discussed: social comparison. When you start building passive income, you begin measuring it. You calculate yield percentages. You track monthly cash flow. And then you see someone online claiming they earn 10 times more from their portfolio. Suddenly, your progress feels small, but you don't see their full risk exposure. You don't see their debt. You don't see their volatility tolerance. You only see outcomes. And comparison quietly steals the satisfaction that passive income is supposed to bring. So part of making passive income work is learning to protect your perception. Measure progress against your past self, not someone else's highlight reel. Now let's talk about lifestyle ceilings. This might be the most practical and powerful concept in this entire conversation. Most people build their lifestyle around their income. As income rises, expenses rise. That feels natural. But what if you did the opposite? What if you consciously defined a lifestyle ceiling early on? A level of living that feels genuinely good, comfortable, aligned with your values, and then you refuse to inflate it just because you could. That single decision accelerates freedom more than any side hustle ever will. Because when your expenses stabilize while your assets grow, the gap widens automatically. Passive income starts catching up faster. Margin expands, and with margin comes negotiating power. Negotiating power is underrated. The ability to say no to overtime, The ability to walk away from a toxic workplace, the ability to take unpaid leave, the ability to pivot careers. These moments don't require full financial independence. They require buffers. They require breathing room. And breathing room is created by disciplined restraint just as much as by income generation. That's why passive income only works if you understand the partnership between earning and spending. Income without discipline delays freedom. Discipline without income slows it, but together they compound. Another overlooked truth is that time freedom and income freedom are not identical. You can have strong passive income and still structure your life poorly. You can still overschedule yourself. You can still fill your calendar with obligations. You can still say yes to too many commitments. So if the goal is autonomy, you must intentionally redesign your time as your financial position strengthens. Otherwise, you end up financially independent but chronically busy. That's not freedom. That's misalignment. And here's something even deeper. Purpose. When work is no longer mandatory, you confront a powerful question. What do I actually want to do with my time? For some people, that's liberating. For others, it's destabilizing. Structure provides comfort. Deadlines provide clarity. If you remove external pressure without building internal direction, you can drift. Passive income removes necessity, but it doesn't automatically provide meaning. So building a life beyond income is essential. Hobbies, relationships, health, creative pursuits, contribution. If those aren't developed alongside your financial strategy, freedom feels hollow. Let's also confront risk honestly. Passive income is often portrayed as safe and predictable, but every asset class carries risk. Equity markets fluctuate. Property markets cycle. Businesses face disruption. Bonds respond to interest rates. There's no risk-free yield beyond the most conservative instruments, and even those carry inflation risk. So the goal isn't eliminating risk. It's diversifying it and aligning it with your tolerance. That means building gradually, avoiding excessive leverage, stress testing your plan against worst-case scenarios. True freedom requires humility. Overconfidence destroys passive strategies faster than ignorance. Now zoom out and think long-term. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Passive income that is reinvested compounds not just financially, but psychologically. Every year that your assets carry more weight than your labor, your fear of instability decreases slightly. You're less reactive, less desperate, less willing to tolerate environments that drain you. That compounding of confidence is powerful. It changes how you negotiate salaries. It changes how you invest. It changes how you think about risk. You move from scarcity to sufficiency gradually. And that shift doesn't happen overnight. It's built through consistency. So here's the synthesis. Passive income only works if you understand that it is a support structure, not a savior. It is a stabilizer, not a solution to identity. It reduces fragility, but it doesn't eliminate uncertainty. It creates options, but you must choose how to use them. It builds margin, but you must protect that margin from lifestyle inflation and ego-driven risk. When you see it clearly, you stop chasing dramatic breakthroughs. You focus on boring strength. Automated investing, controlled expenses, skill development, patience. And maybe the most freeing realization of all is this: you don't need to wait until passive income fully replaces your salary to feel free. You can experience partial freedom along the way, when your emergency fund covers 6 months, when your investments cover one bill, when you realize you could survive a job loss without panic. Those moments matter. Celebrate them. Because freedom is not a binary state. It's a spectrum. And each layer of reduced dependence is progress. If you build with that mindset, passive income becomes powerful. Not because it makes you rich overnight, but because it quietly shifts the balance of power in your life. It moves you from reactive to proactive, from fragile to resilient, from anxious to steady. And steady is underrated. Steady doesn't trend on social media, but steady builds lives that feel grounded, lives where decisions are made from intention, not urgency. So if you pursue passive income, pursue it intelligently. Pair it with discipline. Pair it with emotional awareness. Pair it with a clear definition of enough. Build slowly. Avoid hype. Protect your margin. And remember that the real goal was never the money flowing in while you sleep. The real goal was the ability to wake up without fear. When you understand that, passive income finally makes sense. And more importantly, it finally starts working the way it was meant to.